For too long, a whitewashed Christ has justified slavery, colonization, and racism. A European Jesus was used to bless ships carrying enslaved Africans across the Atlantic. A submissive Jesus was preached to keep the oppressed obedient to their masters. But the Ethiopian Bible tells us another story. What if everything you thought you knew about Jesus is only half the story? For centuries, the image of Christ has been shaped by Rome, by Europe, by empire. But what if the Messiah was remembered differently elsewhere? In the mountains of Ethiopia lies the oldest complete Christian Bible on earth, and in its pages, the story of Jesus unfolds in ways the Western world has long ignored. Here, the Messiah is not a distant European icon. He is an African figure of compassion, justice, and resistance. This is not the Jesus of empire. This is Jesus the African, a different Messiah. Ethiopia's connection to Christianity is as ancient as Christianity itself. Long before Europe embraced the cross, Ethiopia had already accepted the faith. In the 1st century, according to the Book of Acts, an Ethiopian royal official encountered the Apostle Philip, was baptized, and carried the message of Jesus back to Africa. By the 4th century, under King Ezana of Aksum, Ethiopia became one of the very first nations in the world to declare Christianity its official religion. While Europe was still wrestling with paganism, Ethiopia was building churches, writing scriptures, and preserving traditions that survived untouched for centuries. The Ethiopian Orthodox Bible stands apart from the Western canon. It does not contain 66 books. It holds 81. It includes ancient texts like the Book of Enoch, the Book of Jubilees, and the Shepherd of Hermas, writings that Rome rejected but Ethiopia kept. In these pages, we discover a Jesus who feels closer, more human, more revolutionary. Not a Christ of empire, but a Christ of the people. Not a conqueror, but a liberator. In the Western tradition, Jesus is often portrayed as meek, pale, and submissive, a figure whose suffering is emphasized above his struggle. But in the Ethiopian Bible, we encounter a Jesus who cannot be separated from the struggle of the oppressed. He is a teacher of justice who confronts the powerful without fear. He is a healer of the poor who brings dignity to those society cast aside. He is a revolutionary who challenges both empire and religious corruption. This African vision of Jesus aligns with values deeply rooted in African spirituality, community, equality, resistance to oppression, and respect for creation. To Ethiopians, Christ is not a tool of empire but a companion in their survival. It is no accident that Ethiopia, unlike much of Africa, was never colonized. The story of a strong, liberating Jesus gave Ethiopians courage to resist the might of empires, from ancient Rome to modern Europe. To them, Christ was never whitewashed. He was never stripped of his humanity. He was remembered as one of their own. But if Ethiopia held on to this vision of Jesus, why was it hidden from the rest of the world? The answer lies in Rome. In 325 CE, Emperor Constantine called the Council of Nicaea. Bishops from across the empire gathered to decide the future of Christianity. It was not only a spiritual meeting, it was a political one. Here, entire gospels were debated, discarded, or destroyed. Stories that emphasized justice, equality, or challenged empire were silenced. Voices from Africa and the East were excluded. The Roman Church shaped a version of Jesus that served empire. Obedient, submissive, European in image, useful to kings and emperors. Meanwhile, in Ethiopia, monks carefully preserved the rejected texts. They copied them by hand, guarded them in monasteries, and passed them down across generations. The Book of Enoch, dismissed by Rome, describes heavenly visions, cosmic justice, and the fall of corrupt powers. The Book of Jubilees offers a timeline that ties Israel's story to Africa. These were not errors to be erased. They were treasures to be protected. While Europe built cathedrals in marble, Ethiopia carved its churches out of living rock, as if to declare, this faith is part of the land itself. And within those churches, they remembered a Jesus Rome tried to bury. So, what does the Ethiopian Bible reveal about Jesus the African? First, it shows us a Jesus of liberation. His teachings are not abstract theology. They are practical lessons for the poor, the enslaved, the broken. He speaks to those under empire because he himself was under empire. Second, it shows us a Jesus of equality. The Ethiopian tradition emphasizes that Christ's love erases divisions of race, tribe, or class. In this vision, no empire, no ruler, no master can claim divine right over others. Third, it shows us a Jesus rooted in African values. He is remembered as a figure who values community over individualism, resilience over submission, justice over silence. This vision inspired Ethiopia's survival. When European powers scrambled for Africa in the 19th century, Ethiopia stood firm. At the Battle of Adwa in 1896, Ethiopian forces, guided by their faith, defeated the mighty Italian army. It was the only African nation to repel European colonization. For Ethiopians, this victory was not only military, it was spiritual. It was the African Messiah standing with his people. For centuries, enslaved Africans and their descendants in the diaspora would also discover strength in this vision of Christ. They too saw him not as an image of empire, but as a companion in their suffering, a liberator who promised freedom. But why does this matter to us today? Because the story we believe about Jesus shapes the way we see ourselves. For too long, a whitewashed Christ has justified slavery, colonization, and racism. A European Jesus was used to bless ships carrying enslaved Africans across the Atlantic. A submissive Jesus was preached to keep the oppressed obedient to their masters. But the Ethiopian Bible tells us another story. It tells us of a Christ who stands with the oppressed, who challenges empires, who restores dignity to the forgotten. This Jesus is not only for Ethiopia, he is for the world, for the poor in Latin America, for the colonized in Asia, for the marginalized in America, for anyone who has ever felt forgotten, silenced, or broken. This Jesus belongs to no empire. This Jesus cannot be painted in only one color. This Jesus is African and universal. The Ethiopian Bible challenges us to ask, what stories have been erased? What truths have been silenced? Perhaps the true face of Jesus is not found in the paintings of Europe, but in the mountains of Africa. Not in the halls of empire, but in the hearts of the oppressed. This is Jesus the African, a different Messiah, a forgotten story until now. And if this story awakened something in you, do not let it fade. Share it, question it, carry it forward, because the world deserves to know the truth. Thank you for watching, and we will see you again on our next powerful story.